Hi, Zels. I'm not feeling so well today.
You sound great, mate.
I sound like the Springboks felt after Tonga played against them. Mate, they felt a little bit battered, as did the Tongan guys. But cometh the hour, cometh the man, cometh Andre Pollard, all the way from mowing the lawn. And 4 conversions, 3 from the corner, 28-8 when he left the field, 20 points up on 50 minutes. Marnie Lebok came in. And, I felt for Marnie when they scored that first try, and you couldn't put it closer to the grandstand than they did. And he must have thought, oh, my God, couldn't they just give me one in front of the poles to start off with? But true to form, Marnie came, he cracked it over, 3 out of 3. It was a glorious 7 from 7 night, and he played well. And that's the formula. If you're going to play them both, play Pollard as a starting 10, bring Marnie on when the game's lost a bit of shape, and you want to bring your attack into play. But what I loved about Andre Pollard, he played with maturity. He played like a World Cup winner. He played like a guy who kicked 22 points in a World Cup final, like a guy who kicked 5 from 5 in 2015's semi-final, that 2018 defeat against the All Blacks at Twickenham. And he played like a guy who nailed that kick in the semi-final against Wales to give us that victory in 2019. You know what they say? Form is temporary, class is permanent. And when you've been there and you've done it before, never doubt, because you can go back and do it again. Andre Pollard, that tribute was brought to you by...
I was going to say.
By me and by Zels. So a wonderful, wonderful performance. And over and above his kicking, what I really enjoyed was the intensity of his physicality. He got stuck in. He made tackles. He took on the line. He was playing flat. He really put his body on the line. And when it comes to a hit-out session, they don't come much tougher than cuddly Big Ben and his mates. There were some big hits put in there. The Boks won 49-18. All the doom and gloom on social media. That's why it's taken me a day to get here to kind of process it all. We beat Tonga by 31 points. We scored 7 tries to 3 with a team that had 12 changes from the side that played against Ireland, and it's a team that will have 12 changes for the playoffs if we get there.
What would you like me to say after that?
Oh, you're a conspiracy. There's a conspiracy in the runs, and I know you like the odd conspiracy.
Mate, you guys keep saying that. First of all, just let me tip the hat to Pollard. What a performance. He looked like a guy who'd been told, don't worry about the pool matches, mate. Just rock up. We'll get you ready for the quarterfinals. He looked in sublime condition, form. Somehow he was in form. And like you say, physically launching himself into contact like it was a final. So, absolutely superb performance. Very encouraging in terms of the Boks prospects. When you double that up with Lucky Am coming back into the mix, I'm sure we'll chat about that just now. Things are looking very rosy.
When does Lurt come back?
We're just waiting to hear, mate. Francie State apparently packed his bags too.
Now that the Tongan game's out of the way.
Exactly. And as heartbreaking as it is to lose Makazole to an injury in that match, we are fortunate that it was just one guy and in a position where, Makazole was 4th on the depth chart in the wing department. So we're in good nick. We've got through the Tonga game with no injuries. We've just got massive reinforcements back. And aside from a mathematical possibility, the Boks are on their way to the quarterfinals and could face one of France or New Zealand.
A mathematical Scottish miracle. And you know that's not going to happen. If you've seen the movie Braveheart, you'll know one thing. They come charging over those hills, but they don't win. So Scotland the Brave, they've got the nicest anthem. They got a few Saffers in there. They're going to be strong. It's going to be a great game. But here's the little kicker, guys. Not since 1955 has Ireland had the wood on Scotland like they do now. The longest winning sequence, 9 test matches for Ireland. It's now 8. And I'm telling you, it'll be 9 after this weekend. In the era of Mr. Farrell, it's been 5. 3 in Dublin, 2 in Edinburgh. The average score, 25-11 in Dublin. Ding goes the bell! And 25-15 in Scotland. That's a 25-13 kind of differential, and that has been the strength between those two teams. 12 points. Only once has Ireland scored 4 tries. Not once has Scotland scored more than 3 tries. So people talking to me about this could be a 38-34 thriller. Scotland win it. They get the 5 points. Ireland get 1 or 2 points for their tries and getting within 7. If it does happen like that, it defies everything that's happened over the last 4 years. And you would have to ask some serious VAR-like questions as to what was going on out there. But I just can't believe the talk that Ireland would throw a game to basically get Scotland in to get South Africa out when they've just beaten South Africa.
Exactly. And I mean, even like that 38-34 match you just mentioned there now, or whatever, even that doesn't suffice to knock out the Boks. In that situation, Ireland still go through. So if Scotland beat Ireland by 8 points or more, then Scotland go through. And assuming that Ireland only get 1 bonus point. I think that's the way the maths work.
Yes.
And so even Scotland can beat them by 15 points. It just means Scotland goes through. The only way South Africa goes home is if Scotland beat Ireland by 21 or more points. Ireland gets 1 bonus point for scoring 4 tries. So Ireland would have to score 20 points, and then Scotland would have to score 41 or more to knock the Boks
out.
So
it's 45-24, is that what you say?
Exacto,
a 5-try to 4 thriller.
That'd be a hell of a performance. And one thing we know, if you look at history, is the reason that Ireland is a separate country and Scotland is a separate country and England is a separate country is because they're pretty tribal, and so they don't have a great history of working together. Pre-modern history. So I can't really see them colluding because there's too much at stake. The gamble could cost either of them. I think they're going to go hell for leather to get through this thing. This is like a round of 16 match for them.
Yeah, people tend to forget that this is a Northern Hemisphere against Southern Hemisphere. This is Ireland against Scotland.
Exactly.
This isn't mate against mate.
Spot on.
Ireland are 16 unbeaten. They win this one. They go into the quarterfinal to equal the world record of 18 wins in a row. And after that, if they win there, they make history. They become the first Irish team to ever get into a semi-final. You lose this game because you're wondering who you want to play. All of a sudden, you don't play again.
Exactly.
That's kind of how it works, okay?
Exactly.
New Zealand in 2007 rested 5 of their top players because they were looking at the semi-final.
Yeah.
They never got there.
Yes.
What they got was they got to Heathrow.
Yes.
They met Australia or coming via Charles de Gaulle.
Correct.
I just can't believe the talk. I think it's an insult. It's an insult to my Irish mates to think that they would throw this game.
No. Let me put it this way. If Ireland were playing,
it's a bloody insult.
If Ireland were playing Tonga in this last match, and Tonga was not in the playoff contention, and Ireland just had to lose to knock the Boks out, I completely think that would be a possibility. And to be honest, if you're coaching that team and you're in that situation and you don't even think about that, then maybe you're not trying hard enough.
No, I disagree, Andrew Zels. I disagree with you.
You disagree, mate?
Mate, Ireland are not number 1 in the world for nothing.
Yes.
They've earned the right to be there.
Yes.
They've beaten all comers. They're not rolling over for any permutation, okay? To win the World Cup, to be the best, you've got to beat the rest. I like
you should
that.
be advertising, mate.
I like that, man. And Ireland have shown in the last years they have beaten the rest.
Yes, they have.
So what changes? The last time they played each other, 22-7, comfortable win.
They're going to smash
for
Scotland.
Ireland. And the only time they played on neutral ground, 27-3 in Yokohama 2019, where people talked up a Scottish side after Ireland had lost to Japan in the league, and they went out and bludgeoned them and smashed them. Ireland are better now than they were in 2019. Scotland have improved marginally. I still think there's 12 to 15 points in quality between the two sides.
Agreed.
And they're not the two sides that go out there and put on 9-try Bledisloe Cup, Harlem Globetrotter type thrillers.
No. The referee is Nick Berry, mate. Him and Russie, good mates. I'm sure he'll do whatever's best.
I think Nick Berry's got enough to worry about the digging out the permutation and the Boks out.
I'm just taking the piss. No.
No, you're not.
I am, mate. I really am.
I spoke to you yesterday and you said you looked at all permutations and there's a conspiracy.
24 hours is a long time in rugby history, mate.
16 and a half, man. I mean, Anton Dupont doesn't play for either of those two sides.
Mate, Ireland are going to win that match comfortably. It's not even going to be an issue. The Boks don't have anything to worry about. They scored enough points against Tonga.
I like that. The Boks don't have everything to worry about. People were getting caught up with this points differential and that. There was no such thing as a points differential. There was only one stat that mattered. 13 points to 8 against Ireland. We lost that. Had we won that game, we wouldn't be talking about this. we'd be in the quarterfinals already.
Makes you
so,
think.
Did we lose to Ireland deliberately to put ourselves in this position? We go back to all the conspiracy theorists.
Don't wing it, mate.
Yeah, no, I think the Boks have done well in this pool stages. I thought they were outstanding in beating Scotland 18-3. Gave Romania the runaround as everyone else has done, 76-0. And then a really titanic game that could have gone either way against Ireland. I still think the match of the tournament for me so far, even though people are calling the All Blacks 96-17 against those giants, Italy.
How did they do that?
I mean, you saw the typical Italian tank arrive there, 1 neutral gear and 5 reverse.
Mate,
those guys weren't going into battle.
Terrible.
Kieran Crowley even said he's not even going to watch the tape. What's the point?
Speaking of conspiracy theories, Kieran Crowley did his job, mate. That Kiwi's done a fantastic thing for New Zealand rugby, mate.
Yeah, they're giving him the businessman of the year in New Zealand, eh? Once you worn that black jersey, mate. But, it's just absurd when I see the comments from Ian Foster. Thank God Rassie put him in his place, saying 96-17, what a game of footy. And look at South Africa against Ireland. Stop-start, 28 minutes ball in play there, just over 30 minutes ball in play. He didn't say that. Rassie corrected him on that. Hey, which game does the world want to watch? Jesus, mate, I want to watch Ireland play South Africa when there's a score between the two teams. It's great intensity, great physicality, mental nous, one team outthinking the other, outsmarting the other, no one giving an inch, the crowd not knowing who's going to win up until the 79th minute in the last maul. That is World Cup playoff test rugby. And when you get a coach like Ian Foster, it explains why he had a 50% win record at the Chiefs over 10 years, taking the mentality of a fly-off. It's on, let's play. If they can't see the value of a tight five, if they can't see the value of a kicking percentages game, if they can't see the value of balance, it explains why they have been so inconsistent and so secondary against the biggest teams in the world in the Ian Foster era. Just shocking statements. And Rassie, kudos, bud, for putting him in on his place and kind of making a fool of him.
Yeah, I just don't understand when you almost put triple digits on a team at a World Cup. Why are you talking about the Springboks? Why are we even in your mind? What do you gain from that? I don't understand it. It's not like it was a narrow loss and you're trying to justify it by saying, well, at least we don't play boring rugby. You just smashed somebody. Why are you talking about the Springboks? That's just that's a bit of a reveal, a bit of a giveaway. And then, just in terms of the way they played, did they play beautiful rugby when they lost to France? I don't know. Is that the kind of game people want to see? Maybe, but you lost.
There was very little beautiful outside the opening 2 minutes against France. And that was what they had waited for a year to show France how much they'd improved.
Yeah.
Wonderful opening 2 minutes, kept possession, scored, and then slowly just got beaten to the pulp, beaten at the breakdown, worn down. France just kicked everything back at them and said, run it. And they tried to run it. There was no rugby intelligence to their performance because France didn't play particularly well by their own admission.
Correct.
I mean, that was a nervous French side that felt they had to win in front of their crowd in the opening World Cup game.
Yeah.
So
that's what Goggles said after the match. We didn't really play that well, and look what happened.
Yeah. And they nearly scored 30 points against the All Blacks, 27-13. But that's what happens at a World Cup. Out of sight, out of mind, people quickly forget. The only match that mattered for the All Blacks was France. That's the measurement. Not Namibia 71-3. 96-17 against Italy, and now we got to back this up, mate, against Uruguay.
85 points against Uruguay. The reality for the All Blacks is that Uruguay aside, they are one match away from being a completely irrelevant team. If they lose in that quarterfinal, that entire Foster tenure has just been a debacle from start to finish. I mean, it's close to already a sealed deal that is the case. But potentially, the All Blacks go and redeem themselves and win the World Cup. But they lose in the quarterfinal. That's tied the ribbon on that tenure.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an awful tenure. And Scott Robinson, that's exactly what he wants to walk into. He did that at the Crusaders. They could never win anything under Toddy Blackadder.
Yeah.
Always got to the playoffs, never won anything. He came in and won 7 on the trot. So, I mean, I think maybe New Zealand trying to make themselves feel a little bit relevant. They were on the sidelines for 2 weeks. The Boks are now on the sidelines for 2 weeks, a week off, and then obviously the week preparation into a quarterfinal. Rasmus again getting into the minds of the Irish, getting into the minds of Scotland, saying runs on the board. They've got the 15 points. Scotland can't get more than the 15 points. Ireland certainly don't want to go out this kind of manner, having been number one in the world, unbeaten in 16, the pressure's all on Ireland. What he's saying to Ireland is, you don't want to throw this game, mate. You can't risk it. And he said they're in a great position, and I agree with him fully when he says, all things considered, there's not a hell of a lot more they could have done in the playoff stages. If anything, maybe have Boks to win against Ireland. But outside of that, there wasn't in the way they played, the way they managed their squad, and how they effectively used pretty much everyone in that squad, but kept a core of 10 or 12 players involved. And they very much know who their 23 is going into that World Cup playoff game. I think we should be applauding the Boks in terms of what they've produced in the last month, the manner in which they've played, the physicality in which they've shown, and the innovation that they've showed, and also the answers that they've found. We know Marco van Staden can never be trusted to go and play that second role, that second hooker role, because we saw how it fell apart in that last 15 minutes. And that's what people don't understand as well. We started that game against Tonga with Dion Fourie, who'd never started a test at hooker and hadn't played hooker for many a year, put in a wonderful performance, man of the match. When he went to flank and Marco van Staden came on, it fell apart a little bit. Scrum still looked strong. We had a guy who hadn't played for 13 months in Pollard at 10. You had different combinations on the field, a lot of rotation. And, Tonga scored that one wonderful counter-attacking try. But other than that, for all that possession, for all that dominance, you just never thought Tonga were going to score. They ended up getting 3. Big Ben got a great one close to the line.
Yes.
But we got 7. And of those 7, 4 or 5 were pretty darn impressive.
Agreed. Yeah, so from where I'm sitting, and I mean, I think the Boks are going to win this World Cup. But I'm not quite in the same train as you in the sense that I'm not applauding the Boks because I feel like we've put ourselves in this position. It's something I've been saying for a long time. So for me, we should already have won this pool. We should have beaten Ireland. We should have beaten them in Dublin last year. And yes, we found answers, but it's taken us a very long time, and we've paid a very dear price for finding out some of those answers. We spoke about what this Ireland team looks like compared to the one that Andy Farrell inherited, and how he's created depth and discovered players and unearthed talents, and they arrived at this World Cup a pretty complete team, whereas with the Boks, we've spoken about it a lot. The fact that we have to play a guy who's a flanker and hooker. It's fantastic what Dion Fourie did on Saturday. He really came to the party, threw with confidence at the line out, and did the job. But for me, the jury's out. The Boks have to win this World Cup to justify some of the price tag on what it's cost us to get here, like the loss against Wales last year at home, and. So, like I say, I feel like the Boks are going to win this World Cup. I think we're in a great position, and we'll have to win it to justify what we've spent to get here, in my opinion.
Okay, but now I just want to remind you, because when you go on camera, it's there forever. I want to remind you about last year when you were having a lach. That, this is all part of the master plan.
Yes.
Losing by 3 in Dublin.
Yes.
Part of the master plan. Losing
Yes.
by 4 in Marseille.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Part of the master plan. Losing
Yes.
in Paris. Now you say, if only they had won, we wouldn't have this problem.
No. What I'm saying is, at that time, when we lost in Dublin last year, I said, I think this is part of a bigger plan. I didn't necessarily justify what they did. I don't think the Boks should ever lose, but I'm also not naive enough to think that you can go out and put everything on the line every single week and then be consistently successful for a duration. There are times Bruce Fordyce didn't sprint out of the starting blocks, right? He paced himself. He wasn't at the front at midway, So I understand that, and maybe there's a bit of a grey line where I disagree with Russ on how that should be done. But I feel like there have been times we should never be in a position in South Africa where we're playing a flanker and hooker at a World Cup, unless it's a complete emergency and 4 hookers went down. That's unnecessary. Andre Pollard could have been with this group for the last month. Why didn't we take him to the World Cup? Why hasn't he been training with the Boks? Clearly, the Oak is in tip-top form. So he was probably ready to be involved in the squad some time ago.
Maybe the water at Leicester was a little bit purer.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So it's fantastic. If the Boks go on and win the World Cup, it'll justify a lot of the stuff that happened. But it's a high-stakes gamble, that.
But if you look at the Boks and you talk about you'd like the Boks to win every game, and
yes,
realistically they don't.
Yes.
Historically, they win 64% of their games.
Correct.
We've been saying that all along, educating anyone who doesn't know that stat yet.
Yes.
But here's an interesting thing. So the measurement in the professional era, I would say, is 4 years for a coach between World Cup cycles. There's only been 3 coaches who have seen out their 4-year cycle. And that's Jacques Nienhaber, Jake White, and Peter de Villiers. Three very different coaches with three very different squads.
Yes.
And some would say three very different kind of approaches. What's the common denominator? Their win percentage, 66%. Rassie Rasmus had the team for 2 years, 65%. Nick Mallett had the team for 3 years, 71%. He's been the highest. So when you look at a box setup, really, it doesn't matter. A half-decent coach is going to get them 66% win return.
Spot on.
Like with the All Blacks, you should be on 75% regardless of who coaches that side, because of the qualities of those players. The key then is to get to 80. For us is to get to 70, 75. Interesting though, Rassie's best year was his World Cup year. Jacques' best year is his World Cup year. He's now 8 from 10.
Yes.
So maybe we just play in World Cup years as well. If you look at the box setup, Zels,
Yes.
would it be fair to say, and then any others you bring into mind, that Vincent Cox showed why Trevor and Ox are kind of way above him in the pecking order?
I don't think that would be fair to say. I get why those two guys are ahead of him on the pecking order, but I mean the guy's been in the fridge for a while. He comes out of nowhere, does a great shoulder pass, mate, for Moody's try. To judge him on that performance in isolation, I think is a little bit unfair. I do think that he is where he should be in the depth chart with the Boks, and I'm a big Trevor fan, so I think it's worked out the way it should have worked out.
Nice to see Trevor at tight head.
Yeah. No, Trevor doing his thing. I mean, it's great. It's great to see him on the field and healthy, man, and getting through games and no injury issues. I think that's the win.
And he's been a bit of an unsung in this World Cup. He's just got on with it. There's always been fanfare around him, and then he lasts 30 minutes, and that's the end. Alternated between lucid and tight head. What a great player to have coming off the bench.
Fabulous player.
And you think we did to Tonga what we did without the likes of a Frans Malherbe, without a Peter Steph du Toit, without so many good quality players. And I don't think people are giving us enough due for that. And I say us proudly, South Africa, for doing that. So, again, Tonga were always going to come, but they lost by 31 points. Let's put that into context at the end as well.
Spot on.
Looking at this weekend's games, mate, the Boks aren't playing, so they can't lose. Okay? Regardless of what the All Blacks are doing. What do you want to see from this weekend's games? What are we going to be the wiser?
I would like to see some of the teams that haven't logged any log points in this competition log some log points. So I think that'll happen when Tonga play Romania, obviously. And as much as we take the mickey out of these minnow teams, when they play each other, it is worth watching. There are some good games. And it's nice to see Oaks who, some of whom work at the video shop during the week, at a World Cup on TV doing some cool things. I'm sure it must be a great thing for their families and their friends and whatever. And it's that's part of the whole sort of the rugby story. Not all of it is about the premium guys at the World Cup, and maybe that's something we've spoken about before that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, 2 tiers as opposed to 24 teams and they take a beating. I'm not saying don't have Tonga at the World Cup, don't have Uruguay at the World Cup, don't have Portugal. I'm saying give them a fair contest. Let them play strength against strength. And then in between World Cups, ensure that there's the odd fixture when a team tours. Make sure that they're involved in it. Get them to Europe for a little bit more competition.
Yes.
We've seen some wonderful stuff from the Portuguese and the way they play. A clip that you're going to see now is the Portuguese scrum absolutely dismantling the Wallabies. And their backs were very good against them. They won that second half 10-7 in a Wallaby side, playing with desperation, playing to basically mathematically stay in the World Cup and hope to God that somehow Fiji get rolled by Portugal, which is not going to happen. So there is improvement there, but let's put it in for the 4 years in between the World Cups and have a structure that allows teams to succeed and doesn't just entrench the top 4, the top 6 in world rugby. That's what I was saying. So to those who said to me, hey, you don't want Tonga there, they've only got 106,000 population. I want Tonga there, but I'd like that Tongan 33 to come out of that 106,000, not 22 of them coming out of New Zealand and Australia. So we've also got to put that into context. Yes, New Zealand is largely made up now of Pacific Islanders in terms of their makeup. If you don't make the All Blacks, a lot of those players go and play for Samoa or they go and play for Tonga. The odd one goes and plays for Fiji. So you've got 20 plus New Zealand born and Australian born players in the Samoan squad. 54 New Zealand born players out of 78 at this World Cup. So what hasn't been put into the Pacific Islands is teams don't go and play there, and that's broadcasting rights. They say there's no money there. So if the Boks play Australia and New Zealand, they should play a game against one of those two. New Zealand should be playing a lot more there in Samoa and Tonga and Fiji. Australia the same. But there's no money in that, okay?
But, mate, World Rugby's invested a lot of money in things that there's no money in of late. They've got a whole thing where nobody watches, but they spend money on it. So why can't we have them bankroll a game with
No, I'm saying they must bankroll.
They must.
They're saying there's no money, there's no broadcasting rights
Sure.
in it. So there's never been this concerted effort to say, we want 24 strong teams in World Rugby. There's going to be a top 12, there's going to be a 13 to 24. And then it's kind of like 14 finally gets into the top 10. 10's not that good, they drop down to 14.
Yeah.
And their own individual federations have to sort them out. But all of a sudden you've got, like you said, that Portugal-Georgia game, 18 all. It was a great game to watch.
Great game.
You know, Fiji playing very well, having to fight to beat Georgia, 17-12. When you look at Namibia taking 3 big ones,
Exactly.
they wouldn't win a game in the Varsity Cup here, let alone Varsity Shield.
And so for all those bleeding hearts, do you think that's good for Romanian rugby and Namibian rugby to have what's happened to them happen to them?
Not at all.
Surely not.
And a lot of people, again, saying, why? They just want to be there, just want to play. It's about participation. No, it's not. And what it's about is giving the second-tier nations an opportunity to fight to break into the first-tier nations. Namibia playing 4 matches in 19 days, France playing 4 in 30. That's already skewed. It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
They should have played the 4 in 30 because
Yeah.
of the limitations in their squad.
Yeah.
And those super squads who can pick 33 quality players, go and play your 2 games midweek while you prepare your A side for the big games on the weekend.
Agreed. We started this part of the show talking about how Australia fought to beat Portugal. So just backtracking on what everybody, Eddie's taken a lot of heat for not taking Quaid and Hoops. If you look at that team, the way they had to fight to beat Portugal, they could have had Stephen Larkham there, mates. This group of players is just not good enough.
I know we're jumping around a bit there, but Eddie, his job is secure. The Rugby Australia chairman has come out and said, Eddie's great. Wait for the big comeback. 2027 World Cup. We're going to win that. Already they're starting with that crap, okay? Just say we got to fix our game and move on.
Spot on. But you're going to like old Hamish for coming out and saying exactly that. Our system is broken in Australia. That's what he came out and he said.
Oh no, Campo said it 20 years ago, but no one wants to listen to him.
What else is Campo going to say though, mate?
That no one listened to him. And in his day, it was all perfect. Okay, Australia. Hopefully, the wait will be over by Sunday night, and they will know they're going.
No, mate, they've already packed their bags.
Exactly. I saw this piece this morning. It's going to be so hard for them to prepare, knowing if there's like a game or not a game. Mate, I'm sure they're on the
beach right now.
And if they're not, well,
yeah.
Then that's poor man management as well.
Exactly.
If you look, we're going to talk in our follow-up show this week, Zels. We're going to talk obviously in a lot more depth about Scotland and Ireland. That's obviously the big one, and we'll preview that game with a look at how it all plays out into the playoffs. But if you contextualize the Boks now, and I asked some people on Twitter and emails, ask us some questions and we'll address them. We'll address some asked me about your biceps. I said, we're not going to address that. They asked about Ricky and Frank. I said, we're not going to address that. They asked about your love affair with the money man. I said, we're not going to address that. They asked about your betting tips. I said, we're not going to address that. They asked when you go to gym. I said, we're not going to address that.
Right.
I did address that you do play touch and hammies and you're particularly good, aggressive and fired up character. Then they asked me how you are as an individual. I said, you're a wonderful human being.
Mate, how did we get you?
And then outside of that, they wanted to know what team would you pick, all things considered now, match 23 to play in a quarterfinal.
Ooh.
And I said, that's a bloody good question.
That is a bloody good question,
mate.
How many mates are we on at the moment, mate? I lost count, mate.
There was a series of inbox messages, I must say.
Yes, mate.
You are a very popular man out in the Bloberg region.
I can't remember the bloke who's counting, mate, but there is a mateometer, and I think you're in the lead.
I don't know.
Anyway,
mate, I think your 38 of last week was big.
Mate, I would start Dwayne and I would start Andre. I would definitely do that.
Run me through your 23, 15-1 and your reserves.
My goodness. Okay, so Kitsy, obviously Bongi, Frans Malherbe, Eben, Sos, Sia, Peter Steff.
Dwayne.
Evan Ruiz. No. Dwayne Vermeulen. Faf de Klerk. Andre. Damien. I'm going to say Jesse.
Listen here, just that's not everyone crapping themselves. That noise, that's not his stomach rumbling. That's not anyone farting when he said Jesse at 13 when the Kanye Am's there. That is some bloke putting solar into the roof here. So if it does come through with a
mate, those are fans trying to break in through the ceiling, mate, just to get a taste of the show.
Get Money Man out of here.
They like us a lot. They want to be part of this party, man. They want to be part of this gig. They want to be part of this show.
Who's that guy outside there trying to get in?
I don't know, mate. I don't know who it is, but he's got a big drill.
He's got a big drill and he's coming through the roof. Okay, so you go 13, you're going to go Jesse, eh?
I'm going to stick with Jesse.
Okay, 14?
I'm going to have Cheslin and Kanan. I like Kanan at left wing. They won't do it. I'd play Kanan at left wing.
I'm asking your team now, not Rossi's team.
Okay. And then I would put Damien Willems to the back, mate. Villy
right. What about Villy?
Yo.
90th test, great try.
What a good bloke. Mate, he scored that try from pure fear. He was like, this is the end of my life. There are 5 targets coming across the field. This is what I've tried to avoid my entire career. I'm going to die now. When he jumped up like that, he was just happy to be alive. It had nothing to do with the try.
I thought it was a great finish. A great little shimmy inside and over. Give Villy his due. Great to see him score try. What surprised me was that it's his second try in World Cups.
That surprised you?
Yeah, it did surprise me, man. I thought he would have had a few more than that.
Yeah.
But 90th test, he went past Justus. He was on 89 test. Credit to him and for a celebrated career. But I don't see him making the quarterfinal 23.
No.
Great to have on standby if there's injuries, but I don't see him making that.
Talk to me about your 23.
I'll get to my 23.
Okay.
But while we're talking about great players in the US and a Villy and that, I see James Slipper's gone to the most capped.
Did you say great players?
Yeah, no. I'm saying, talking about great players, George Gregan was always the most capped Wallaby at World Cups for 20 tests. Now James Slipper, as you said, someone's dad, is now the most capped for 21.
Mate, my wife knows nothing about rugby, okay? Anytime they say James Slipper on TV, she laughs. She can't help herself.
Well, anytime they say James Slipper in the team announcement, the opposition front rowers laugh as well.
Sure, he's a lovely bloke.
I'm sure he is.
But
And he's fought back from some serious issues in his life.
Yeah.
He's got to 130 plus tests. Kudos to him. But you know what? If James Slipper's your go-to guy in Australia, could explain why your pack's going backwards against Portugal. Looking at my 23,
yeah,
I'm going to start with 15. Damian Willemse.
Yes.
Paulus. So, Kanan Moody, I don't think he did enough at 13 to give them comfort that against a very good quarterfinal attack like France, he could be found out.
Yeah.
I think he will develop into a fantastic
Agreed.
13, and the last 5 years of his career we played out at 13. He's the closest I've seen to a Tana Umaga type player who could shift in, and a Marnon who could shift in from the wing into the midfield. But I like his physicality. No disrespect to Kurtley Arendse and what he brings to the party. For me, it's a straight swap, Kurtley and Cheslin. Not accommodating both of them. So I would go Kane and Moody.
Okay.
If Lucky Am's there, you want to play him, I don't think they will play him in a quarterfinal.
No.
They'll try and back him having 2 weeks with the squad and get him up for that semi-final.
He starts
if
in
they
the
get
semi.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to give it to Jesse Creel at the moment. You've got to play him. It's consistency. Damien Dialandi, how anyone compares him to Andre the Giant. Again, no disrespect to the big guy, but Damien Dialandi, a class apart. Pollard, for me, has to be the starting 10. And I'll get to my bench just now. We'll have insurance policy there. 9 Faf, the same pack as yours. I go with Dwayne at 8. I don't go with Jasper. I believe Dwayne has to start, and he provides more than him coming off the bench. Okay. Then we go to the bench. Dion Farina, he's done it. He's proven himself to be there as the backup hooker. Again, it'll be a very big difference up against a side like France. But hey, he played there for 8 years. He understands their language. He understands the mentality. It could be another master stroke, this 38-year-old coming and doing the business. The rest of the forward pack has been there. It's consistent. It picks itself.
Yeah.
I would go with a 6-2 split. And that 6-2 split, I would go with a Grant Williams and a Marnie Lebok on the bench. But they will potentially go with a Kobus Reiner on the bench for his experience. And I think Marnie Lebok. But that's a 23 that gives us grunt. It gives us everything. And
who's your loose forward on the bench? Is it Kwacha, Marco?
I go Kwagga.
Jasper.
No,
Wouldn't it be
there's
Jasper?
a couple. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a couple, man.
Okay.
So I would go. What I've got all the props are there. The key there is I like the fact I would go with the two locks, Klein and Adger.
Yes.
And then I would go Kwagga. I would even potentially leave Jasper
out.
Yeah. So the bench 6-2 mix, I think, is the more realistic one for a quarterfinal, not a 7-1, and certainly not a 5-3. But with that squad of 23, and coming back to the Manie Lebok debate, Pollard, especially with his fitness and his, you may not get more than 60 minutes out of him. So you want to start him. If he only lasts 10 minutes, Manie comes on. But you don't want the potential of starting Manie and he goes down in 5 minutes through an injury. And now you think, has Andre got 75 in him? And I just think he brings more calm, he brings more precision to the play. And when there's a bit more fatigue in the game, Manie Lebok can be sensational. I do believe that there's place for both of them if they go on a 6-2 split. And I think Damien has certainly, Willem says, leapfrog Willie. And Manie Lebok, in the way he attacks and his attacking meters that he gives us, I think it would be a disservice and an injustice not to have him in the 23 for the playoffs. But I don't think Pollard adds value off the bench as much as Lebok can. For me, Pollard is your guy who starts that game. He builds the scoreboard pressure. He gives you that confidence. Consolidates that first hour, and then you let those outside backs with a guy like Kwagga, and that's what I like him in the mix. Coming into the fray, the game opens up a little bit more, and that's where you see the bomb squad come to the fore. I'm very confident that they've got the right 23 there, and they've got options outside of that 23 as well. But there are certain key elements for me in that team. Dwayne, a key element. Damien Delandi, a key element. Pollard coming back. I think it's everything we thought he should be. And another hit out for Sia, another hit out for Eben as well, which was crucial going into the playoffs. But we got some serious cattle there, and it's going to take a hell of an effort from a team or some conspiracy theory type.
Some poor officiating
That's going to knock us out.
That's
but
the
I
only
think
way.
we're in a good space, South Africa. Feel good. We're in a better space than New Zealand is. We're in a stronger place than France is. We're in a hell of a place of absolute bliss compared to Australia. Ireland will probably be the one team that feels they're in as good a place as us at the moment. But as Rassi said, the pressure is on them this weekend. And we'll unpack that pressure a little bit more on Thursday/Friday's show. So fire away your questions to me, keo@keo.co.za, or tweet me. If you've got any questions you want me to put to the big guy over here with the Gans, when you want to bring Ricky out, Frank out. And obviously we'd also have the Money Man's tips, and Zels will be doing a show with the Money Man later in the week. He'll give you all the tips how to make money out of this World Cup, because in the week, it's a bit frustrating, but there is a Cricket World Cup starting as well. Enjoy that. The Proteas are playing. Get behind them. This is all about South Africa. And yes, we are partisan, we are biased, and we are patriots. It's a patriotical. Which one is it?
patriotic.
Ons vir jou Suid-Afrika.
Fantastic.